This is the second episode of our series for the Holy Week. My name is C.Y. Kao. I'm a Jesuit scholastic working at USF's cultural centers. As Father Travis explained yesterday, in this series, we'll follow Jesus' footsteps in Matthew chapter 4 about his 3 temptations during his time in the wilderness. Today, we're looking at the second temptation. If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down from the top of the temple, because the angel will protect you, and you will not strike your foot against a stone. This second temptation was to seek a sign from the Father, a dramatic intervention to conquer all disbelief and opposition. In our fear and worries, we want God to snap the fingers and solve our problems right away for us. Now, facing the global pandemic, every day we stay at home, in isolation, watching more and more people getting sick, and the death toll continuing to increase. Immersed in anxiety of infection, we seek signs from God to tell us when and how this crisis will end. It is our human tendency to avoid suffering and death and seek happiness and extend life. In the next few days, as we enter more deeply into the Holy Week, we will also hear an echo from the same temptation on Calvary. Let him come down from the cross now, and we will believe in him. But this miraculous escape from pain and torture and the ultimate death is simply a delusion. Every day we encounter different people, different events, different narratives and stories. If they only serve to reinforce our beliefs and operating systems, we have not really encountered them. The encounters necessarily involve many disappointments and require us to be open, simple, and radically undogmatic. This is what Paul Ricoeur calls second naivete. We, as the children of God and the disciples of Christ, have to be prepared to wait in faith and enduring hope. We will then realize, like Christ, the love alone will conquer hate, and the life is found only in the experience of death. In darkness, we have faith in the light, and we hope for the everlasting life. Despair paralyzes the human will. Instead, we are offered to the inspiration of hope and new life. But when and how this new life will take place is not up to us. We must let it come to us. This is how we might position ourselves for the new life, for that divine grace. Hospitals are the place where we encounter this human condition every minute. Each patient's room is a unique story of suffering. During my own work as a hospital chaplain, I learned that people might recover from their illnesses. In fact, it happens really frequently with our modern technology. However, trauma and grief of losing loved ones will never go away. The void will never be filled. We only find ways to cope with them. Then somehow one day we find strength to move forward with them. They become something we carry with us, which expand and deepen our relationships with God. It always fascinates me to learn how people can rise again from these devastating and debilitating experiences and transform themselves into new lives. This is not human work. There's no formula for the miracle. This is precisely the divine mystery. The temptation here is to make this mystery our own human project and rush to give it meaning and try to fix the problem. As the devil says, if you are the Son of God, throw yourself down from the top of the temple because the angel will protect you and you will not strike your foot against a stone. To fight this temptation requires an inner discipline to resist the urge to do things. Rather, we need to stay in the presence of isolation and suffering. We must stay in the unbearable silence of grief and stare into the undaunting void, or the evil, according to our spontaneous, naive interpretation. In his book, Wounded Healer, spiritual writer Henry Nouwen writes, "The great illusion is to think that people can be led out of the desert by someone who has never been there. Therefore, the Holy Week is an opportunity to take the time staying a little longer in the uncertainty and the void, in the sorrow of these anxiety-inducing events. Yet do not give up on hope. Hope for the risen Christ to surprise us. Before then, we must provide love and hospitality for one another. Like how Pope Francis responded to the great filmmaker Martin Scorsese's question about the violence in the world. He answered, "We must weep with them. Weep." This final week of Lent is an opportunity for all of us to go deeper into the suffering of Christ, to stay in the silence of his death before his salvation comes to surprise us. And then, like how Jesus responds to the devil, do not put the Lord your God to the test. Instead, we must be patient and wait in hope for the peace and joy that are not something that we earn, but are freely given to us. May God be praised.